What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Angie D, and you are tuned into Black in the Day by AD. Every week, we'll be exploring different topics and people who have impacted the culture just to show us how dope we are as a people and celebrate our dopeness 24/7, 365. What's up, y'all? Today, I have with me on my first episode, Lauren McMillan. I'm so excited. She is a boss bitch. I tell her this all the time. She's like my favorite Capricorn. She just always gives me bad bitch earth sign energy. And we all need that in our life. Like, she is a culture creator, culture connoisseur, like a boss because she owns her own company that's been running for over 10 years? Yeah. That's all. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, who are you? Who am I sitting across from?
My name is Lauren. I'm a Jill of many trades, I like to say.
Absolutely.
Professionally, I'm a graphic designer and marketing consultant.
Mm-hmm.
My company is called Arrogant Images, and I pretty much do branding and marketing for a host of different clients, pretty much anywhere from strippers to senators in real life.
These are facts.
In real life.
Follow her page and you will see.
But a lot of branding for small businesses, that sort of thing. And then on the side, I've dabbled in events, doing events for young professionals here in the Dallas area. And then I also moonlight sometimes as a music blogger, and I've done some contributor work for DayInADream.com, Coastline Magazine, and I am also a co-host on the Drop It in the Group Chat podcast with my friend and the founder of Humble Flourish brand, Rufus Williams. So it's a little about me.
Yeah. No, it's a lot about you. Actually, it's a little, because I still feel like you do so much more. Like, you were so dope.
Thank you.
So, yeah, there was no way I could ask anyone else to be my first guest on Black in the Day besides Lauren Mack. Like, what do you mean?
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you. Okay, y'all. So, it's been 1 week since the passing of Kobe Bryant, like the greatest. In my mind, he's the greatest NBA player. Well, was, but yeah, that was tragic. Like, it had me shook for at least 2-3 days.
Yeah, it's been super sad. I wasn't even a huge Kobe. To be honest, I was a Kobe hater since the early 2000s, since the Lakers took on the Sixers in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been holding that grudge, like anti-Laker, really forever. And so I didn't expect to be as sad as I was, just because I wasn't, in my mind, I wasn't that big a Kobe fan. But I just think just because of what he means to the culture and just what he's meant to basketball, me being a big basketball fan and have followed his career. Like, I remember when he took Brandy to the prom.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so I think that it hit everybody harder than,
hard,
true fans, but then people who weren't necessarily like super Laker fans or super Kobe fans. It hit all of us really hard because it's like we grew up with this man.
Exactly.
And, it just was super sad and quick and unfortunate.
And like super unexpected.
Yeah.
It was like, because when my cousin told me, and I was just like, okay, I'm about to look this up.
Because TMZ will pull somebody quick.
Hello?
And, yeah.
Yeah. So I looked it up. I was just like, okay, I mean, I only see like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I stayed in denial for like the first 2 or 3 hours. Like, I wasn't trying to talk. I wanted to like sit by myself and just like process it.
Yeah.
I don't think like it just still don't even sound real. Like, it's crazy.
For sure.
Yeah. So, prayers go out to Vanessa, the rest of the Bryant family, and all the other families that were affected. Like, yeah, it's tragic.
Mm-hmm.
So, on a lighter note, we are going to move into topics that impacted the culture, people who impacted the culture throughout the week. And let's get started. So we have Big Sean, February 3rd. He dropped I Decided in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That album, it was a pretty solid album. I know how it bounced back on there. I think my favorite song on there was "Delight," though.
Yeah. To be honest, like I love Big Sean. This is not my favorite album from Big Sean.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I've been waiting on him to do something that lived up to like mixtape Big Sean.
Yeah.
And then I really liked Dark Sky Paradise. So
that was a good album.
Yeah, he makes us wait so long in between. It's like, oh, you got to come with it. And honestly, I'm waiting on another 2088 album. Like, I think that was my favorite song. The song that he had with Janae on, I decided was my favorite song from that album. But I love Big Sean, Hometown Hero right there. So.
Yeah. I think my favorite one, like my favorite album of his was his first one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was like a solid album.
Yeah.
But like you said, it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, Big Sean has had some really, really dope moments. Like, I think my favorite mixtape for him is the Detroit mixtape. Like, Higher is like probably one of my top 10 favorite songs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, the beat is crazy. Like he switches up his whole flow in the middle of the song. Like, it's super dope, and I just kind of want Big Sean to do that all the time.
Yeah, because like we know you capable of it. So what's up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I like when he gets in his singing bag too. Like, you don't necessarily always have to like people put rappers in a box and like expect them to do rapper things all the time. And I like when people are able to successfully step outside the box and do other sounds. So I really admire that about Big Sean. And like he's dope just overall. Like he's fashionable. Like
so fashionable.
Yeah, he got the little man swag down. Like he's super fashionable. Like he's super dope.
So that album actually went certified platinum.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they thought it was decent.
Yeah, I mean, I rock. He got some streams out of me, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of Big Sean, he is doing Coachella this year. Mm-hmm. And that makes me think of, like, how we've progressed, I guess, as far as music festivals. Right. Coachella was not.
Yeah, Coachella used to be super, super white.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last few years, thanks to, Beachella pretty much came in and changed the game. But Absolutely. You had Kendrick one year, I think pretty much everything after the Tupac hologram, it just has started getting blacker and blacker, which I think is really dope. Like, you had Insecure do a whole episode based around Coachella. And I think it makes sense now, even though they kind of fought against it, because black music is pop music. So it makes sense that you put Big Sean and Meg Thee Stallion is going to be out there. I want to say the Baby is on Coachella. Like, it's so many artists that have had huge years that used to get snubbed by these music festivals. And so now they can come in and literally, like, shut them down. Like, Rolling Loud is pretty much all hip-hop now.
Absolutely.
A lot of these festivals have just had to kind of get with the times and realize that these are the people who are making hits, and these are the people who are, topping the charts, and that the music festivals need to reflect that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really dope. It's not. Once Beyonce did it, it was kind of a wrap from there. But honestly, I'm excited to see how it's going to evolve in this next decade, and what these festivals are going to look like with a lot more black people who are, black travel is a thing where it's black people going and getting whole houses, and we down to come camp and be in the desert. And then we're also creating our own kind of music festivals, like Afro Punk is huge. And then they just had Afrochella in West Africa over the New Year. So I'm excited just as a music fan to see, blackness, and then get that same festival experience and go out and have a great time and not remember what happened the night before.
It's definitely some progression. That kind of, the whole Coachella, Beachella reminds me of the Google ad, the Black History Month Google ad. And I seen something really interesting pertaining to that ad.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. They did like a great job.
They did a great job. Google has always done a good job of staying, knowing how to respect the culture.
Yeah.
Like even from the headers they do, you know, like if it's like somebody's significant birthday or that kind of stuff, they have people in the and I imagine that Google has people of color in the room who are making these decisions too. But like they've always done a really good job in their marketing, making sure they're inclusive and showing the culture. And that ad is just crazy. Like, and it goes to speak towards like we are like the most Googled things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, you know, I got to see all my favorite people. Beyonce's in there, LeBron's in there.
Like you,
all those big moments, yeah.
Like, you know, we're dope, of course, but then seeing ads like that, like, we feel everything.
Absolutely.
We feel everyday life. We feel people's style, even though they try and put some little blonde hair on it, as Gabrielle Union said, and bring it on, put some blonde hair on it and call it something different. Like, we feel all that. Mm-hmm. Music, fashion, beauty. Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are the culture. Trendsetters, yeah.
We're everyone's culture. You're welcome. Then we have February 4th, Miss Rosa Parks. That was her birthday. Mm-hmm. We know what she did for the culture. Yeah. Like, we know. And I don't think we would have been, like, we wouldn't be where we are if she hadn't taken a stance and, like, really got active in the civil rights movement. And, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's an amazing woman. So Rosa Parks retired, spent her later life in Detroit, and so growing up, I got a chance to meet her. So yeah, she was beautiful. Beyond all that, she's a beautiful woman, and just what she meant for the culture. I just recently learned that the CEO of Little Caesars paid for her rent for like years and years, like as she got older. Yeah. So shout out to him because he held it down for the culture too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would have been a shame for like somebody who meant so much to the culture to be like financially struggling. So I think that's really dope.
Yeah, that is super dope. He's not good, but he's A1 personally.
Yeah, you might get the hot and ready just to say, you know, you support it.
Yeah. Then we have Janet Jackson dropping Control in 1986, her third studio album. Mm-hmm. On the 4th as well. It had Pleasure Principle, Let's Wait a While, Control, Nasty Girl, like, so many hits.
Yeah.
So many hits.
Yeah, I think that's the album. If Janet Jackson wasn't already a star, like, that's the album that kind of propelled her into stardom, even though it's slightly before my time. But, you know, I think, you know, she went from being Michael's little sister to being a star in her own right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was solid album.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I don't have any bad points. I wish you would have done. Nah, Janet, you had that one. Yeah. Really, Janet Jackson doesn't have any bad albums, though. Like, they might have different vibes, but like from that Velvet Rope, all of that is super dope. Like, yeah, it's always a vibe.
I don't think can she put out a bad album? I don't know.
And she also knew when to stop too. Like,
yeah. Like, let me give it.
Yeah, I think a lot of like greats, kind of like you got to know in music, like, okay, I don't want to do anything that's going to tarnish my legacy musically, and so like she's been able to do that. Like even stuff now that you might have thought was like kind of questionable has kind of stood the test of time. Like her collaborating with Busta Rhymes and all that. Like all that is still super dope. Like you never look back and be like, what the hell was Janet doing? You don't have any of those. You don't have any of those moments to say about her.
And, like, even her collab with J. Cole, that's, like, one of my favorite songs. Mm-hmm. Like, she knows how to stay current and not, like, get away from who she is. Absolutely. Or be out here looking crazy. So, yeah. That album went 5 times platinum.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And, of course, it topped the Billboard 200. It beat Michael's record for the Billboard 100 as far as the singles staying on there.
Oh, wow.
It was like 65 consecutive weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, sis did that. She did it. So moving on to February 5th, we have Bobby Brown. In my mind, that's the king of R&B.
That's the king of R&B right there?
Yeah.
That's your vote in? We gotta call Jacquees on the phone right now. Let him know what's.
You ain't got it. Yeah, that's my king.
Yeah.
R&B.
So is his birthday? It's
February 5th.
February 5th. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see him being Aquarius. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I
think after watching the docu, I don't want to call it a docu-series, it wasn't, but the mini-series about Bobby Brown, like, basically because it's more so from his perspective. Like, I didn't know that him and Janet Jackson had a thing. Like,
at all.
Yeah, that was so, like, you learn so much about people, like, in how industry people just being regular people and, like, having, he was pretty much like the side dude. Like, Janet Jackson for
exactly.
years.
She was not trying to have that. Yeah.
And then it made you, I had completely forgot about Whitney and Bobby having that whole reality show, but I used to watch that faithfully and get on and watch them get on TV and act a fool.
Absolutely. So, was here for it.
Yeah, like they kind of were like the pioneers in that like reality TV space. Like it wasn't a whole bunch of celebrities doing reality TV at that point
at all.
Yeah.
That kind of made me change my perspective, like, on him as well, because, you know, when a story is told from one side, you always think the worst of people. Yeah. They don't never really get to.
Yeah, and so, I don't, and who knows, we don't know, because, you know, it's always, you know, two sides in the truth, but I always had the perception that Bobby had kind of drug Whitney into this dark life, and pretty much like, you know, from his way of selling the line, and she was already about that life, and they just kind of clicked, So that was interesting to see it from that perspective.
Yeah, that was a pretty good. You know how sometimes they put out those little biopics and they don't be like what it is. Yeah, they did. Good on
BT has done really well with those. Yeah, because the New Edition story was really good too.
So good.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
they need to stick to that kind of storytelling versus like trying to do
original.
Because technically that's original content, but like doing historical pieces or maybe stuff that's like loosely based on something that actually happened versus doing 100%. Or they need to bring in some other people, like other content creators, to do that kind of content. I think I just recently watched What's Love Got to Do with It as an adult. And I think, like, people now, like, because music biopics are kind of so sensationalized, like, people are so concerned about the person who's portraying the person looking like the person versus getting people who are better actors. Because Angela Bassett does not look like Tina Turner. But
she was Tina Turner.
She was Tina Turner. Yeah. And for years, like, she was, and Lawrence Fishburne does not look like Ike Turner, but he was Ike Turner. He's still, like, I had to Google. I'm like, do I even know what Ike Turner looks like in real life?
No.
Because
it was a Google.
Yeah, like, because in my mind, when I think about Ike Turner, I think about Lawrence Fishburne. So I think like people need to, it's going to be kind of a transition because there's so many look-alike situations, like the Tupac biopic. The guy looked just like Tupac, but he had no acting chops. Like, so I think, I walked out of that movie. I was like, I already know what's about to happen, so I know how this ends. And it was long, and it was bad. Yeah. So there's certain people.
That was not my favorite.
Yeah, there's certain people who, like, for sure, because they have iconic looks. Like, nobody, you couldn't not look like Biggie and play Biggie. But some people, I feel like it can kind of be some leniency as far as, because, I mean, if you look like they let Chadwick Boseman play Thurgood Marshall. Chadwick Boseman does not look like Thurgood Marshall at all. But that was a good movie. The movie was good because he can act.
Yeah.
So I think we got to get some leniency there. But the guy who plays Bobby Brown, I've been watching him on the Wu-Tang series too. He's a really good actor. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's a little off, but he's a little different. Yeah. He's a little eccentric, but I think a lot of times people who are super creative are eccentric in their way, because I watched him on The Breakfast Club, and he was just kind of, he was like, I don't audition. I don't, you know, he just was really like talking his talk, but he's done a great job, so what can I say? Like, you've done your thing in countless occasions at this point.
Yeah, so, where were we at? Yeah, those biopics that Leah wouldn't have me going. Trayvon Martin, February 5th, he would have been 25.
It's crazy.
That was definitely like my first time kind of getting into activism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 25, just this year.
And he's been gone for, at this point, has it been 10 years? Nearly. I know.
Yeah.
I remember going to a rally here in Dallas when I first moved to Dallas, and so it was 2012-ish. So it's been nearly 10 years. Like, it's just gone too soon. And then the fact that George Zimmerman is constantly in the news beyond this is just ridiculous.
Just
living his best life, basically.
Yeah, like
it's crazy.
Ooh, yeah, I remember I went to a rally on OU's campus. Mm-hmm. One of my friends and I, we did a silent protest. You know, we walked the campus and like we had the Skittles and the tea, and it's just like really you can't even wear hoodies or have simple things like as a young black boy. That's wild to me. Like yeah. And I just remember calling and checking on my nephews and kind of getting closer with them after that. And they grew up in a school where it was predominantly white. And from that point on, I was just like, okay, like, this is the tea. Yeah. This is that one.
For
like,
sure,
I don't know if you've been told, but this is what it is. It sounds bad, but that's the way it is. Like,
yeah, it's a totally different cultural perspective. Like my little brother, I have a brother that's 15, and like his growing up experience was different than mine because like I went to school with predominantly black. I went to all black school, so I got to college, and so he grew up with where he was the only black kid in his class, and so his experience of how to navigate being the black kid in a sea of Caucasian kids, like it's totally different than what I experienced growing up. So his lessons are different than like you don't want to become you don't give them reason to single you out, certain things like that, things that I didn't have to worry about being in an all black school. So it's a totally different cultural experience than just being the black kid in the white neighborhood. You have to move differently.
Absolutely, like. I remember it was maybe a month ago, one of my youngest nephew and a couple of his friends, they were like, oh, we want to go walking. It was dark outside. It had to have been like 9, 10 o'clock. And then we didn't see like what they had on when they left the house, but they had on hoodies, hoods up. I'm just like, we live in a predominantly white neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Like, you in your mind, you feel like you can do that, but no, like.
And it's a shame that you can't just be yourself, but like you have to be cognizant of the perception. You have to be cognizant of white fear, basically. Yeah. What makes other people uncomfortable. So it's a sad reality. We have to teach. And I mean, at this point, we have to teach young girls that too. Mm-hmm. It's not just an attack on men, but you have to teach young black kids that in general, like that you have to be conscious of how you're carrying yourself around other people because we live in this super racially charged climate, and people pop off like this with no consequence. Yeah. That's
they don't get a chance to be kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from skin color to height, size, like you just don't. And to us, they look like kids. You can see it in their faces, right? Like kids.
Yeah, there's an episode of maybe 2 seasons ago on Grey's Anatomy. Where it's about a little black boy who got shot because he was like going through the window of his own house because he locked himself out. Yeah. But like he was a big in stature kid. Yeah. I think he was supposed to be like the actor was supposed to be like 13. Or he was playing somebody who was supposed to be like maybe 12 or 13. But he was a big kid. But in his face, he was a baby. Yeah. And so people all they see is this big black guy coming at me, and you don't look at his face and like, that's a child.
Kid.
Yeah.
So, he would have been celebrating his 25th birthday and still not over that.
Yeah.
Still nuts. So moving on to February 7th, we have Chris Rock and Essence Atkins' birthdays.
Chris Rock, the legend.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely in my top list of comedians, of people that I actually watch. You know how people, you got Richard Pryor, but I'm just like, I never watched him like growing up. So my list, he's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah. Top 5. Yeah, I love that movie too. I'll say that, like, I've never been a huge Chris Rock fan, but that tying the music element into the comedy was really good. I love Rosario Dawson. So yeah, I love that movie.
That wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite movie of his. Of all the movies he's been in, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, because I can't really think of anything else like movie-wise that he's been in. But I really care for it like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good movie. Now everybody hates Chris.
Yeah, and that was
one of my favorite TV shows.
For sure.
Yeah, that is it's a hilarious show.
Mm-hmm.
I could binge watch that all day and cry laughing all day. Like I haven't seen the episodes 100 times. Yeah,
and a lot of like stand-up comedians, very few people were able to go and have those big runs on TV like that and take their stories to TV. Is him? I guess Steve Harvey successfully did it, but and Bernie Mac. I guess you got Martin, but very few people who started like. I love Cedric the Entertainer, but Cedric the Entertainer has been on 15 shows, and none of them have really stuck with the culture the way Everybody Hates Chris did.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That one show he's on, The Neighborhood.
Yeah, they all been good. Like it's like I like them. I don't know. Like remember when Cedric had that variety show that used to come on? Like I like that too.
Yeah,
that was super dope. But none of them have really stuck the way. Had the longevity the way Everybody Hates Chris did, the Bernie Mac show did, Steve Harvey show, where it was multiple seasons.
Because Everybody Hates Chris was so relatable. Like, how Rochelle always used to be like, oh, I'm going to slap you into next week. It was a thing.
Yeah.
It was things we heard growing up. Like,
absolutely,
it's relatable.
And I still like it, even though, Terry Crews is on the verge of getting canceled.
Girl.
He's on the verge of getting canceled.
He's like, not even the verge, just like a toe over. Like, you might be canceled.
Yeah.
Because, you know how it goes. Black women stick their neck out, and then all of a sudden you knew.
Yeah, I think I had a kind of a heated discussion with somebody about that because the narrative, and I feel like this, and it's not an attack on other people, but like black women and in cultural causes are kind of stand alone. Like there's nobody who really rallies for causes that are just affect black women. So like black women go and rally for feminist causes, go rally for black causes, all different things. But if it's something that specifically affects us, you rarely see people coming to our aid. So that was just an example of how he just literally threw her under the bus. He'd have been better saying, my experience at America's Got Talent wasn't that, but I don't know what her experience was versus you don't know what anybody's experience was. I can be nice to you and you can say, oh, I'm a lovely person. I can go out in the hallway and be a bitch to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so you don't know how somebody else's interaction with people. So I just think he could have done better with that.
Yeah.
Listen to his wife. She told him not to say anything.
And yeah, I mean, that's why you should probably always listen to us. But that's neither here nor there. And Essence Atkins.
Yeah, she's found the fountain of youth. I don't think she's aged
at all
since the 90s.
Sis, where's it at? Like, let me know so I can prepare myself.
It's her and what's her name? Beyonce's stepsister.
Bianca Lawson.
Yeah, like they just have not gotten older. I don't know what they did. I just remember them being like, love interest in some early 90s, shows or whatever, and they just stayed the same.
Like, sis filmed Save the Last Dance yesterday. Yeah.
They look exactly the same.
Yeah. So, I think my favorite thing that Essence Atkins has been in is Deliver Us from Eva, which it came out in On February 8th, actually.
Crazy story about Gabrielle Union was she organized for the young man whose school told him he couldn't walk because he had dreads. He's going to the Oscars because of her and D-Wade. Like,
so y'all
they keep doing great things for the culture. Yeah.
I'm going to the Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a great actress, and then she does like a lot of activism. Like she'll speak up for something,
absolutely,
in a heartbeat, even though people may not have her back to sing. Like she'll still do it.
I respect that about her a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, that is one of my favorite movies that Essence Atkins was in. I don't know about my favorite Gabrielle Union movie, but like I was obsessed with that movie whenever I was younger. Like I know it word for word still.
It's ran that VHS into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a play and then a rewind.
Yeah.
The movie is hilarious. Well, that is all we have this episode.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. Like, I really appreciate it. I couldn't have anyone else, especially for my first episode. Like, you create the culture. You like are in the culture. You do. You play a big part in the culture, especially like here in Dallas. Like, you do a lot. If you haven't heard of Lauren McMillan, get your life. Okay, y'all. That was it for our first episode of Black in the Day by AD. For daily content of what we just discussed and more, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. By the way, what is your name?